legislative candidates for our municipal election coming up. They're all mixed in with each other. The mayor candidates are mixed right in with the council candidates. So here they are. We're taking questions. I'm going to read the questions here, acknowledging the questioner, and these people will answer. To start off, we're going to give them 2 minutes each, and I'm going to draw their names to establish order. 2 minutes each to introduce themselves and say whatever they want. And then we're going to ask questions. They get 1 minute to answer the question. I do ask everybody, please adhere to the time regulations. Please do that so that we can get as many people included as possible. Welcome here. I'm going to go draw names. I think I'll do the mayors first. We'll do the 3 mayors first, and we'll do the others. So, just to get going, and for the speakers, I have an arrangement with this guy in the yellow sweater here. If you go over your time, he's going to turn your microphone. First speaker, I would ask Doug Lawrance to come up.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to the organizer. Good evening. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you all for attending and respectful readings of all the events, even the one here tonight. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Lago First Nation within Treaty 3, and the communities we service are in Treaty 5. And that is important. 70% of our economic activity directly relates to our role as Southall. Our major employment sectors, healthcare, education, social services, training, are thriving because of our special relationships with regional First Nations. Our private sector, hotels, restaurants, retail, aviation, engineering, construction, transportation, and more, is strong because we are the hub of the nation. Our founding industries, tourism, forestry, natural resource management, sea and rail, continue to run through our community like taxes to provide stability. We have a diverse economy, but like all other remote communities, we face challenges. Strength of population, high living costs, and aging infrastructure. With a small tax base, we are pressed to accommodate the growth and to maintain affordability. I believe it is the opportunities we have that make us different from other Northeast towns. By embracing our role as hub of the North, and at the same time recognizing our diversity of people and economies, I believe we are strongly positioned to continue progressive growth, social and economic benefits of the entire community. For the past 4 years, it's been my privilege and challenge to advocate for positive change, deepen the towards and reconciliation with First Nations to reduce costs and increase economic. I seek your vote to continue to lead the city. Thank you.
Next candidate for mayor, Leney.
Good evening and welcome. First off, I'd like to recognize the efforts of Southall for organizing this forum. And I'm sure many of you have read all the biographies of all of the gentlemen and ladies before you. But like me, I think we're all on the same page. For reasonable taxes, affordable housing for seniors, affordable housing for others, lower police costs, and a solution for homelessness. My brochure, I'm sure you finally got it in the mail, I hope so. I admit, my brochure shows how I've been committed to this town municipality for 10 years. 6 as your councillor and 4 as mayor. It's very apparent when we meet the MPs in Toronto, or other conventions, if our riding does not have an MPP in Toronto, we are received and we're treated respectfully. But usually, we only get thanks for coming, and we will look at your presentation. We will always get the money that we have fought for all the majors for many years to be done by every municipality for such instance the gasoline tax rebate. And we also may get lucky with other announcements like the long-term care beds that were made during an election year by the Liberals, who have now been thoroughly defeated and no longer have political status. So why should I be elected as mayor? Well, I was long conservative, and I've worked on campaigns for Leo Bernier, who served as an MPP from 1966 to 1985. And I'm going to run out of time to cut it off. But I have close friends in Toronto, being Ray Crick, and today, Clifford Cole, who is now being advisor for the Premier of Ontario. So I look forward to your questions in the answering question period, and thank you very much.
Next mayor candidate, Jason Bailey.
Check 1, 2, 3. Okay. Good evening, Sioux Lookout, community members, and fellow candidates. My name is Jason Bailey, and I'm your candidate for mayor 2018. Before I decided to run for mayor, I had to think seriously about 2 words: response and ability. Responsibility. I had to review myself. Do my abilities meet up with our community issues, needs, and expectations? This is what I found in my review. When it comes to our social issues regarding our homeless population, I have been employed on the front line as a social service worker providing to this group for 10 years. So I have the ability to provide a response in this area. When it comes to lobbying and negotiating with the provincial and federal governments, I have spent 7 years negotiating, lobbying, and performing shuttle diplomacy with the Crown's office while advocating for individuals and groups in the criminal, family, and provincial courts. So I have an ability to provide a response in this area. When it comes to the voice and needs of this community and what that looks like, I have volunteered, sponsored, and provided services to numerous events in this community for the past 10 years. I'm doing it right now. I see the people, I hear their voices, and I hear their needs and wants. I have an ability to provide a response in this area. When it comes to grant funding and applications, I have prepared applications at an OHFC level. I'm familiar with this process and all the steps involved. I have the ability to provide a response in this area. When it comes to taxes, I've been involved with the Sioux Lookout Tax Coalition for 3.5 years. So I understand this issue well, and I have an ability to provide a response in this area. I would like to say thank you to our community for this opportunity. I will say good luck to our community members in choosing the right mayor and council for your community. Meanwhich, thank you.
All these speakers will be running for council. First one, Cal Southall.
Hello, my name is Cal Southall. For the past 8 years, I've served on the town council and have enjoyed the opportunity to give back to the community, to be involved in moving our municipality forward, and to engage and represent residents of Sioux Lookout. I feel the qualities that I bring to make me an effective councillor are that I have a genuine concern for our future development in our community. I'm approachable. I'm interested in the public opinion on issues we are facing, and I strive to maintain an objective viewpoint. I'm not afraid to take a stand and to address tough issues when we're needed. I believe some areas that we need to focus on are the income council need to focus on, are the fiscal responsibilities and the transparency of them. I think we need to look at housing development and infrastructure improvement. Addressing these issues will help grow our community and make it an attractive place to live and to work. Working together as a council and with other levels of government, we need to encourage development, and we need to work on removing roadblocks for developers interested in investing in our community. We also need to focus on improving and updating, expanding the infrastructure to support community growth. But this needs to be done fiscally responsible too, and not simply with increased taxes. Additionally, I feel the council needs to be more open and clear on where and how tax dollars are being spent. There are many opportunities for Sioux Lookout moving forward. We are a diverse and a growing community, and this appeals to businesses, to developers, to investors. If we encourage and we emphasize development and growth in the housing sector, retail and industry investment will follow. To you, the residents of Sioux Lookout, I commit to working hard to make a better community, and I welcome your input and your opinion. Thank you.
Debbie Baker.
Direction that Sioux Lookout wanted to go in. So the thing that I wanted to point out, so if I'm elected, things that I will be focusing on is one, fiscal accountability, transparency, and also for our decisions to be community driven. Sioux Lookout's in a place where it is going to probably be growing quite a bit over the next few years, and we as a community need to decide where we want to go with that. So I hope you vote for me, and thank you again for coming on.
Stephen Forbes.
I'll echo the thanks to Ann and the organizers for tonight. 2 minutes isn't a lot of time, as you guys probably figured out right now. I'm just going to highlight a few of the things I would like to do if re-elected. We're going to tread on a lot of similar issues, I think, everybody up here. My first priority will be housing. I'd like to find out, and I've heard from developers over the years that there are barriers to development in this community in terms of what we're doing. Are our fees out of line with other communities? I'm not sure. I'm not a developer. I would like to find that out. I've heard it's more expensive to do business here than places like Darlene. I don't know if that's true, but I think we should be able to figure that out pretty easily with staff report. I've heard stories of $2,000 or $3,000 to connect water and curb stop. Is that cost recovery, or is that us making a little bit of money? It shouldn't be us making any money. Another priority would be for, and we're well on the way here, but rec center replacement. I'd like to get us to where we're shovel ready. I'd like to get a and put that splash pad at the town beach. But here's the caveat. It was kind of a come to Jesus moment I had about 3 months ago. The bigger issue here is that we're working with an antiquated system. The other two levels of government need to realize that we can't take care of what we need to take care of with property tax revenue. There has to be a change, whether that's point or whatever it is.
Hey, like I said, 2 minutes, not a lot of time. Thanks for your time.
Ron Bird.
Good evening, voters. My name is Ron Bird. I'm running for Councillor at Lawrance. I was born in Fort William, West Fork to be exact. As a youngster, my father made an effort to visit his sister, Rita Carroll, in Sioux Lookout, a dear woman who recently passed away. Over the years, these frequent visits for birthdays, holidays, weddings, and even the bird reunion in 1987 were the beginnings of my appreciation for the residents and the town of Sioux Lookout. In 2010, Debbie and I moved to Sioux. She opened the Sears store, and I worked at building our home. More recently, I've been providing entrepreneurial training with First Nations. I've mentored students at the high school, and I'm now working with Slifton. My career has been in business. As Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for several multi-million-dollar companies, my business qualifications are finance, operations, sales, project, and resource management. Skills, I believe, will greatly benefit our town government. Our municipal government is a business, a unique business that I personally believe can be improved. Financially, we can lower or minimize the property taxes by improving our deficit spending, enhance the town's transparency by allowing large capital projects to be sent to the public as a referendum or a plebiscite. Improve the housing shortage by engaging our local builders and developers and adding to the municipality's land supply. We need to revitalize our downtown commercial core by attracting local entrepreneurs who have the passion to grow their ideas into a larger concern. In closing, I hope you gained some insight about who I am, my strengths, and I believe this community needs to accomplish in the next term. So I'm ready to accept your mandate. Thank you.
Yolaine Kirlew.
Mic check 1. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow candidates. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. I'm Yolaine Kirlew. I've had the privilege of being here with you for the past 4 years to do one essential thing: work on relationships. Building relationships amongst each other. Building relationships regionally. Building relationships with our Indigenous communities as neighbors. Building relationships provincially and federally. As your representative, I have taken our message that we need to have stronger federal and provincial connections financially so that we can build up our community on social housing. We can build up our community and balance our policing costs. That we can build up our community so that whether you are a nurse, a teacher, a tradesperson, a doctor, a lawyer, a police, you will find Sioux Lookout as the home to invest in, not only for a year, but for many years to come. It has been my absolute pleasure to stand beside you on the issues of relevance, whether it be taxes, whether it be our students coming from the north, whether it be talking to our provincial, federal, or regional leaders about increasing our capacity as a community. We're thriving, we're growing. We have many, many areas that we can grow further on. In terms of our relationship continually growing, we can express more with you, and that I see we can work on in the next 4 years. Together, Sioux Lookout is about building a community from the ground all the way up. Together, we can stand respecting and encouraging each other. So if you will give me that opportunity, I will continue.
Joyce Timpson.
Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you very much to the organizers. As I seek a second term on council, I ponder a comment that I hear from many people, that I ask tough questions. I believe that a key role of council is to ask questions, both for us to understand the issues that we're voting on, but so that you will understand the issues, and so for us to ask the questions that we feel you need answers to. But after 12 years, I have to say I'm very practical in what I will promise. I think we have three great priorities here. Number one, housing, a variety of housing. If we don't have housing, our economy will decline drastically. Aggressive attention to our aging infrastructure, or we will face future catastrophic costs. And I'm not talking just about roads and sewers, I'm talking about our recreation center, Cedar Bay, our facilities. Number three, reconciliation with First Nations. With 50% of our population First Nations origin, municipal policies must reflect who we are. We must cultivate government-to-government relationships with Northern First Nations. And it has to go beyond symbolic gestures. It has to be meaningful, new relationship building. In this complex environment, public engagement is essential. Public engagement is not always pretty. People will disagree. But respectful dialogue is essential and possible. I will advocate for town hall meetings as much as possible to facilitate this agreement. I will advocate for fiscal measures that give the biggest bang for the buck. And if we have to scrutinize our operational budget for every penny we spend, I will support that. If we have to have an audit for that, I will support that. I will continue to ask the tough questions. Let's make Sioux Lookout a place that people want to come to.
John Bath.
Good evening. Thanks for taking the time to attend this forum, and special thanks to Anne Saltel and her team for organizing this event. During my 43 years living and working in Sioux Lookout, I've seen several ups and downs occur. We've survived and prospered through all of these changes, and we are a very progressive community. In just over 3 weeks, you will have selected a new council to guide the community through changes that will occur over the next 4 years. One of the first items the new council agenda should be on this agenda is the creation of a strategic plan, and that will become the municipality's planning roadmap. The strategic plan will be one of the first opportunities for citizens to provide input, to evaluate, and to engage with the new council. If you choose to re-elect me, I will once again provide my visions to be input into the plan. In a nutshell, my visions center around community growth and development, housing, more development in Hudson, including Boat Bay, the creation of a recreational master plan, and to continue to advocate to expedite the annual budget process. We must continue to have shovel-ready infrastructure projects in the wings, ready to pounce on senior government funding opportunities. Contrary to many of the negative postings and comments that have been circulated over the past 3 years, I'm excited with the positive relationships and opportunities that Mayor and Council have fostered and built on. I've been the chair of Hub Transit, formerly Handy Transit, for the past couple of years. The positive attitude and direction I see for our municipality is contained in this service and the caption I had placed on the bus: building a better community, Sioux Lookout, Hub of the North. Thank you very much.
Joe Cassidy.
seems our local government has been doing less with more, without any regard for the effects their decisions are having on families and those on fixed incomes trying to live in our community. I'm now in a position where my wife and I are trying to raise a family of our own, and I'm seeing firsthand the challenges that people are facing. I will make it my goal, if elected, to do everything I can to help improve the quality of life for the people of Sioux Lookout. I work in the Ontario Public Service for the past 10 years, and through that time, the most important skill I've developed is how to work with taxpayers in a respectful, constructive manner. That is the most rewarding part of my job, is helping people, and that's what I intend to do if elected to council. I would also like to see more transparency in our budgeting process, as well as more active engagement with developers to reduce red tape and get accommodations built to help alleviate the housing crisis, as well as pushing to see development take place on the 85 vacant lots behind 7th Ave. I will be proactive and engage the community and make sure there are facilities for families to use now and in the years to come. As well, I'd like to keep the ball rolling on the new arena/rec center. I also would like to provide tax incentives to help those looking to start home daycares until more spots can be available within the municipal ones. Our town is in desperate need of long-term care beds. I will continue to work towards lobbying our government and holding them to the commitment they made to this community. Last but not least, I am here to represent the people of Sioux Lookout. I'm willing to listen to people's concerns and find solutions. I'm here to do what's best for the community.
Lago.
Hello everyone, thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks to our organizers and our hosts. I'd also like to thank Tim for putting everything in the paper last week for all of the candidates. In my allotted time, I just plan to give a brief synopsis of who I am. For those who don't know me, my name is Lago. I was born here in 1969. I'm a fourth generation Sioux Lookouter. Fourth generation Sioux Lookouter. I was raised here. I spent the majority of my life here, and I was educated here and graduated from QEDHS in 1987. I have 6 years of post-secondary education, 2 years of college, and 4 years of university. I graduated from the University of Manitoba in 2002 with a bachelor's degree in social work. My main course of study was in the geriatric field, and my intention was to go into grief counseling or palliative care. During those years of university, I was a fire ranger for the Ministry of Natural Resources, moving up into the crew leader position. I also bring to the table 25 years of local business experience at Al Sports Excellence, and for the past 15 years, I have been part owner of that business as well. I have been the president of the Sioux Lookout Anglers and Hunters for the past 10 years. I am the founder, and I am the main organizer. I am the director of the Sioux Lookout Walleye Weekend, and I hope on October 22nd that the citizens find that I would be a good fit as a representative for them. Thank you very much.
Darlene, Angeconeb.
Save the best for last.
Hi, I'm Darlene Angeconeb, Vishnakai. Didn't do them. My name is Darlene Angeconeb. My clan is Caribou. I'm from Lago First Nation, and I believe that we are a resilient people because my family was in a relocation program in 1966, and I'm also a residential school survivor. So I'd like to say that Orange Shirt Day was yesterday, commemorating Indian residential school survivors and their descendants. So I'm a Anishinaabe Kwe. I was educated at Pelican Lake Indian Residential School in 1969. And then I was
educated in town at Wellington Central and then Queen Elizabeth. I finished high school in Sault Ste. Marie, and I studied fine arts and political science in Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie. I was a participant in Diverse Voices here at Sioux Lookout, and that is an initiative of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and Sioux Lookout, and it was to try to get women to be put into leadership positions. So here I am. I'm trying this. So hooray for Diverse Voices. I've also been a coalition member of the Healing and Reconciliation with the Anti-Racism Committee. And so I started to get involved with some of the things that were going on in town here. I've worked at Equeva Women's Group for the last 20 years as facilitator for self-government workshops. I'm also a facilitator for leadership workshops. I was appointed to the Mayor's Committee.
Thank you all. Have we missed anybody up here? Good, everything turned out fine so far. That's part one. Part two comes up now. I'm going to ask the questions that were left in the basket at the door. 1 minute per answer. And then we're going to turn your microphone off. So, if the question is directed to one person in particular, or two or three, we will let those answer first. No one else is obligated to answer, but you may if you wish. Be sure I see your hand. Be sure I see an indication that I should call you up. So, the people who are asked the question must respond first. You can respond by saying, I don't want to answer, but you must respond. Everybody else, it's optional. Excuse me one moment. I think Ann wants to say something. Two things, and I'm remiss because I was supposed to remind you of both. Please turn your phones off. We're being streamed via Wi-Fi, and even if it's on, if it's taking messages and so on, it's using up some of the bandwidth. Please turn your phones off altogether, unless you're on emergency call. And the second thing is, I should remind you to speak close to the mic, real close, and then get a little bit closer yet, particularly for the Wi-Fi system that's being streamed. Okay, here we go. First question. Any questions from you guys of me? First question, written on a nice pink piece of paper. To all counselors, from Lorna Laguerre. Here's Lorna's question. Each person, you get 1 minute. Please adhere to the time. What will be done to bring Sioux Lookout back to life? Jason Bailey first.
My name is Jason Bailey. I'm an Anishinaabe. My spirit name is Singate, which is Strong-Hearted Wolf, and I'm from the Turtle Clan. Okay, first of all, to bring back Sioux Lookout to life, we're going to have to deal with our housing issue. If we look at every single issue we have, they all root right down into our housing. I've met with our local developers and I spoke to them and asked them about what are our barriers to building homes. They explained to me that there's too much red tape, that we need to open up our bylaws on our lane houses, our hermit homes, so that we can build smaller houses to increase our population density. Not only are we going to be doing that, but we're going to be also solving some of the long-term care issues, because residents will be able to build existing homes on their property where their parents can live. We're going to bring rent costs down, and we're going to be able to fill those 130 to 170 jobs that are in a median wage at $42,000 to $45,000 a year. That's about $600,000 a year of income.
Next up, Corey Lago.
Bringing our community back to life. It's going to be the people that bring bring the people, this community back to life. We need more people giving, less people taking away. It's like a system. The more people take and they less to give, the system is going to decay and die. And I see our town dying. We need to all start getting back to our community. Thank you very much.
Next up, Yolaine Kirlew.
That's a great question. Thank you very much. It's all come down to relationship, caring about each other, recognizing that we can't do this in little pockets, that we have to see Sioux Lookout moving forward as an effort that requires every single one of us. Recognizing that whether you're from the north, from the south, once you're in Sioux Lookout, that you're planted here, and then each day you invest your time as a volunteer, your time as a worker, your time as a parent, recognizing that what you do at your home also will affect what happens in the community.
Next up, Southall.
I agree somewhat with Jason. I think that our retail is lacking terribly, and I think that's hinged on housing. And I do, contrary to what Jason said, this present council has totally revamped our zoning bylaws, our official plan. We do allow granting flats. We do allow second residences on property. We are going outside the box and allowing multiple units on a single lot. So we are trying to address the situation. We are still lacking in developers, but I think that when we're able to get a workforce and get housing for them, I think the retail are lining up to come into Sioux Lookout finally. So I think that's going to be big for us.
Lawrance.
Thank you. Interesting question. I guess bringing a town back to life has different meanings to different people. There's certainly a lot of life in the town in terms of jobs, and then there's the lack of housing is the issue. But in the downtown core, like most municipalities and towns in Canada, small towns, our downtown has changed over the years. Retail, people are buying shoes online, people are buying clothing online. The retail has changed everywhere. Would we like to have more retail? Absolutely. I think the key is housing. The housing summit that we held in July is beginning to show fruit. It takes time. But we have two developers talking about large apartment complexes for our community. And as Councillor Southall said, this council, we totally revamped the official plan in consultation with developers. So I believe it is a very friendly official plan, zoning bylaw. And I've never had a developer from out of town say it's too much red tape. They said it's a pleasure to work with you. I believe the town is alive, doing well, has a great future. We just need to continue on the path.
Bringing our town back to life. I don't think it's dead, but I think if we really want to make for more vibrancy, we cannot. Each of the three platform issues that I talked about cannot be done in isolation. There has to be housing, along with infrastructure, along with reconciliation with First Nations. But added to that, we have to involve the community. Let's involve community groups. Friends of Cedar Bay has a wonderful partnership with the town, and it has made tremendous strides because of that partnership. Partner with the Second Chance Pet Network. They're doing jobs that a lot of towns do. Partner with the Hub. Partner with a group that would work on the dog park. If you respect citizens, they will do so much. As someone else said, we can't rely only on tax dollars. Let's rely on human capital.
Darlene, Angeconeb.
I'll finish my. Okay, if we look at the Sioux Lookout and we look at the hospital, that took a four-party agreement between First Nations. If we look at other examples within the community, we see First Nations organizations partnering and creating all these services for this town. We look at the Winks building, which is a combination of the Tribal Council dollars put in the youth center, and I believe they have great programs ramps, and the kids even have their own bikes. So if we could do more on partnering, then I think things would be great. And I don't believe we're dead and dying.
Ron Bird.
I believe with Joyce that Sioux Lookout is not dead. It's I believe it's a great community. It's a place that you want to raise your children. It's a place where you want to have your family outings. So I find that if it's dead, it's probably because of the challenges that we're faced with. And certainly housing is one of the major ones that we have. It inhibits our ability to fill the hundreds of jobs that we have, and basically need to increase the amount of land that's available for the municipality so that our developers and our builders can help alleviate that problem. And the second issue is that might help bringing us back to life, as they've said, is the economic development. They need to look inward. They need to look more towards the entrepreneurs, the local folks, to...
Time's up. Thanks. Joy Cassidy.
So I think in terms of bringing this town back to life, I think the way I sense this question is going is that people go to work, we have our jobs, we come home, that's what I'm getting at. The housing is the issue, but the fact is that our town's being fourplex to death. Everywhere you turn around, there's a fourplex of $1,500. You can't get service industry or after school programs for people to run when they have to pay that kind. They can't afford to live here. So those kind of industry, those jobs, those suffer because of that. So tie it all back around, diversify our housing, make it affordable, and we'll see our service industry grow. Because I know that's probably one of the things we've all seen in this community is lacking.
Stephen Forbes.
So, I'm going to read between the lines of the question a bit, because we're in our kind of same age. I'm going to guess this has something to do with the condition of Front Street and the lack of retail. And where Lawrence kind of stole a little bit of my thunder on the answer. We can't, the world's changed. I remember Front Street when I moved here in '86. A couple of different grocery stores, the northern store, an arcade, all that stuff. You can get whatever you want now off of this, delivered to your door. So I think pining for the days of a vibrant Front Street with small mom and pop shops, unfortunately, are gone. We have to figure out a way to get Front Street into something habitable. I don't think it's going to be retail, unfortunately. And the housing issue, like everybody else said, needs to be taken care of. Why doesn't somebody build a brick building?
John Bath.
Sioux Lookout's not dead. Where did that ever come from? It annoys me when I hear that. Sioux Lookout is a very progressive community, and it's the negativity that we hear, we see on Facebook, we've been overwhelmed with it the last couple of years. The negativity is what's killing the community. It's not the dead community. Human's a great place. Look at the volunteers this year. It's more than any other community in Northwestern Ontario. That's not a dead community. That's that. So I think we need to take a look, quit being negative, quit whining, and let's get together, work together, and that's how we will bring the community to life.
Corey, would you be okay? Thought so. Debbie Baker.
Hi. So I find that's a very simple question, but it doing it together as a community, and we do feel that we're alive. Thank you.
Dennis Leney.
Anyways, I agree with John Bath. Our town is not dead. I came here in 1976 with the OPP, and believe me, the housing back then is exactly the same it is now. I had to go to Geraldine Morgan, who was a counselor at that time, and she was able to open up the lots that presently that I have. Rennie Order was able to get one of those up there. Now we have housing. It's still the same. Sioux Lookout Golf and Curling Club, we have 7 lots that are available, all serviced. Finley subdivision, 44 lots, all serviced. Why aren't they being built? And I think that was covered. Most of the builders around town right now are busy, and it's hard to get any of them there. One of the things I do feel that we really need to bring to this town, and this time when I was mayor of past council, we need to bring gas to Sioux Lookout. We have to bring gas so that we can go after these big industries like gold or rock axe and the mine down thing. That's what will keep Sioux Lookout alive. Thank you.
Have I missed anyone? Okay, the second question is directed to each of you, and it comes from Dan Murphy. What are the candidates going to do in the near future to make Sioux Lookout a safe place for our children? I think I'll just draw your names. It's easier for me to keep track of it. Dennis Leney.
Make Sioux Lookout safe. Well, I've always believed Sioux Lookout would be safe. When I came here in 1976, we started off with 12 police officers. At present, we have 50. What happened? Our population has doubled a little bit, but still, it should be safe. And unfortunately, it falls right back to the homeless people. And if you read my brochure, there's an awful lot of people that I've talked to, the First Nations people, that have a problem, and they admit a problem, but they want to get out of it. That's why I feel that it's paramount that we get our 96 beds and that the William George Center be opened up for a MAP center, which, if anybody remembers, MAP is a managed alcohol program. It works all across Canada. It's doing well in Thunder Bay, and it will work in Sioux Lookout. That's where I feel we have to do to make our town safer. Thank you.
Darlene and Angeconeb.
Okay, as a member of the Police Services Board, I have been chairing the board. We have a community safety and well-being plan that has to be implemented and put into place, and it's going to be worked on within the next 5 years. So I plan on, if I'm still on the Police Services Board, I would be working with the next 5 years. And there are a lot of issues that need to be looked at, the addictions issue, the homelessness, everything. So that's what I hope to be doing. Thank you.
Lawrance.
Thank you. I agree with both Dennis and Darlene. The long-term care, what we advocated for there was the 76 beds would be added to the hospital as a 96 bed, and the 20-bed extended care turned into a treatment center of some sort. Managed alcohol program would be great. And for Darlene, Police Services Board, that is a requirement now that all community sectors come up with a community safety well-being plan. That will be, it's just being initiated probably as the new council starts. About 3 weeks ago, I was invited to go to the Sioux Lookout First Nations Health Authority annual general meeting. That's where all the chiefs that the service to Sioux Lookout come. I spoke to them and was invited to ask for some resolutions. I got the chiefs to support the establishment of a new emergency shelter 24/7 that had a greater capacity than our current, a detox center, and a treatment center in Sioux Lookout. Those things will certainly help. The policing costs are related largely to mental health and addiction disorders, and that's the challenge we face.
I don't have a lot to add on to what Doug has just said. I think under the last term of council, there's been some great strides made in addictions. There's been a committee set up with the OPP, meet regularly and deal with safety issues. The OPP have been very cooperative. They are patrolling different places where there seems to be problems. I think the council has been very proactive in trying to deal with it. It's an ongoing problem, and it's not going to be solved overnight, but I think some great strides have been made already, and there's lots more coming down the pipes. There's stuff that you don't know yet. You haven't. We can't tell you, but there are programs coming that are going to be a big benefit to our community.
Joyce Timpson.
I think a lot of the things that have happened have been said, but I think it's also a very difficult question. But I think there are things that we can do, and things have been done. I think the 20-bed facility that is open on King Street, I'm already seeing certain individuals are spending far less time on the street. I would like to see our OPP do more foot patrols, do more plainclothes patrolling, patrol bicycles, different ways of engaging. A lot of people that we consider dangerous are just people that if you talk to them, you'll find out they aren't dangerous. And maybe if we police develop a few more relationships with some of the people on the street informally, things might be different. I'd also like to see, I'd like us to have one of those outdoor self-cleaning toilets somewhere. That came up about 5 years ago, and I'd like to see that this council, the new council.
Cassidy.
Thank you, Dan, for the question. I can really relate to this one because I know I live on Angeconeb, and right behind my house there's several party areas. You go back there and you got some needles lying around, and you know if you want your kids to go play in the bush, you grow up and you got to worry about that kind of stuff. I'd like to see some more of these sites that we know are party areas. Let's clean them up. Let's work with the fire program. They need some chainsaw, brush them out, clean them up, put some needle deposits back there. Just keep them off the ground, keep people safe. As they touched on with the police services board, there's 3 people that sit on it. Let's open it up to the community. Let's get more people involved. Let's get some ideas out there. And as Doug touched on too, is we need to have safe housing for people coming out and trying to recover from addictions. If they come back here and they go to the shelter, they fall back into the same cycle, and they're just going to be back on Front Street repeating the cycle. So, we'd like to see some more safe housing where people that want to get better can and get
Ron Bird.
This question will be shorter than the last one. Safe place in our community. Working here at Slifna, you see I think you see the problem. Everybody sees the problem. And I think the only way to have it solved is to take the police and have a foot patrol to monitor the problem areas, monitor the downtown areas, maybe come up with a detox center, a social center for the homeless, and also probably more importantly to create a relationship with the communities from where these homeless people came from so that maybe we can get some assistance to get them back on the straight and narrow.
John Mann.
I don't see a real danger to children in this town. I think there's a perceived concern, and certainly to be tied into the addiction situation we have. And folks have nowhere to go. So it comes back to housing. Where do you put these people? Where do people go when they have problems? I kind of agree with what Joe said. Some of the areas we started the program about 6-7 years ago through council to clean up the hill, Water Tower Hill, a place like that, and it sort of got guy-wise and nothing happened. Maybe that's what needs to happen. More street patrols, certainly. But I think it's all easily within reach of the council, and
steal something from Darlene because she wrote it. Bear Clan, Thunder Bay, very positive. I also seen on Facebook that someone is looking at wanting to start a community watch. Our community needs to be involved with this. I see this as a social issue and not so much a policing issue. We have lots of health authorities and other agencies in town that we should all be getting together and talking about these issues, working to have a safer community and safer streets, and also talking and respectfully with First Nations, with Chief and Council, getting them around the table as well, so we can all have an honest conversation about this. Thank you very much.
Jason Bailey.
Batting last is always the toughest. No, I just don't want to. Okay, sorry. Anyways, yes. First of all, we have to look at educating our clients that are taking part in the harm reduction programs. When it comes to needle exchange, we got to engage them more and let them know that we need the needles to come back to a safe place so we can dispose of them correctly. When we look at our harm reduction programs like the MAP program, we have to understand that this is just the beginning road to sobriety. A treatment center is going to help, especially a treatment center that has trained workers that understand the intergenerational impacts that have been suffered by the Indigenous population and how to appropriately provide interventions to these. When it comes to aftercare programs, it's extremely important that we have appropriate aftercare programs with supports in employment, education, and moving forward. If not, there's no vision moving forward.
Yolaine Kirlew.
Thank you. That's a great question, and I echo much of the sentiments expressed thus far. The only part I would add to this is that it takes a village to raise a child, any child from any background, and I think we need to be careful when we vilify a certain group to say that the reason why there are issues we're facing is because of this group and that group. Collaboration needs to take place across the board. Awareness needs to take place in more full form. And that needs to be not just from individuals who are suffering from social challenges, but also within our community in and of itself. We need to talk as a community about these issues and be more aware. What are the stages in managed alcohol program? What are the stages that we're going to be impacted by as we see these programs rolling out? And so awareness is key, and recognizing that this is not something that's going to go away just by pointing the fingers, but really coming together and collaborating in a holistic perspective. Merci beaucoup.
Stephen Forbes.
Well, I'm going to come at it from a totally different perspective. It's probably wrong, but that wouldn't be the first time. When I hear safety in children, I think of programming. I think of what can we do to have kids off the streets and participating in things. Now, recently there's been an after-school program instituted by the Recreation Department, and that goes for a couple hours a day, 5 days a week, I believe. And so things like that. Not every kid can afford hockey. So in collaboration with Council and the Recreation Department, maybe programming inexpensive programming to help kids after school and on weekends have something to do rather than wandering around and perhaps getting into trouble. The other thing is, this council has been very proactive with youth and with the youth center. So I think we do a pretty good job of that, and can't add anything else to the addiction and housing issue that's going to be beaten to death tonight. Thanks.
Debbie Baker.
So, the downside to being last is everybody's pretty much said what you've already thought you were going to say, so I'm not going to repeat everything that everybody said, but they were all good ideas. I come from an attitude of not reinventing the wheel, so one of my things about dealing with this type of question would be to see what other communities have done. And not just other communities in Canada, but actually internationally. There's a lot of really good ideas out there that would help look at the situation. One I can think of in particular, having come from Ottawa, seeing areas where it was actually like an office space where people could just go in and talk to the police officer and they had the walking patrols. Something like that's what I would think. Thank you.
The next question comes from Steve Poling. Steve says, recent changes or charges in our Parks and Recreation Department have resulted in the downfall of an adult volleyball league, a decline in young people playing soccer, and a drop in fee and close to $15 to go into the facility. What is your vision for guiding healthy, active living for our people? What is your vision for guiding healthy, active living for our people? Dennis Leney.
Safe, active living. Well, first off, that's all I've heard in the last week is the costs are too high at the rec center. And when I don't know, I'm hoping Jason Bailey gave us the wrong pricing for the cost of electricity the other day, because in one season it would be working about $1.14 million for the season. I think probably that with the youth, I think we have got lots of things going on for the youth. All I wonder is it being used? And I often wonder because of the fact that even just today at high school, I asked the kids, how many are gamers? You know what a gamer is? That's playing on a computer. An awful lot of them put their hands up. And I know my grandson is one of them, little bugger. Spending your grandpa's $1,000 for a gaming machine. But I think that's what we have to do is get a program that's better suited for the kids, and we have to cut our costs down. Like when I heard today from my neighbor that it costs $5 to go and skate in the arena for an hour, that's too much.
Debbie Baker.
So the rec center, that is a bit of a dilemma of a question, to be honest. I would have to research it more and look into it. Having come from the city, these high costs are actually fairly normal, depending on what type of rec facility that you're looking at in the city and the bells and whistles for it. The other thing with the city, though, is they also have a larger population, so they can also afford some of the nicer, fancier things. I think we would have to seriously look at why is the rec center in the situation that it is in, how can we best deal with that. The other one is also looking at ways to provide recreation that are not necessarily just tied to the rec center, but things that could be offshoots out that might be another cost-effective way to look at it. Thank you.
Cal Southall.
Well, as far as Steve's volleyball goes, I don't know. I know that the Forest Inn has generously provided a place for that, and I know that there's been people willing to donate the nets, and I know there's a local gravel person who's going to haul the gravel for free, and it may be a lack of participants. I can't control that. There are 2 nice soccer fields in Sioux Lookout right now. Another thing is this past council has lobbied and has applied for funding to put in a master recreation plan that would look at all recreation, arenas, fitness center, everything for the community. And I'm hoping that we are going to be able to get that in place, and that would be a first step on providing adequate recreation facilities for the whole community. It's a wide spectrum of looking at the big picture.
Doug Lawrence.
Thank you. Great question. I'm a big proponent of active living, and I try to, what I do is, I guess by example, I'm an active liver. I have a great passion for it. It's always a tough question. The recreation center itself, it's a balance. The recreation center, I think Parks and Recreation, $1.2 million budget. And it's about, it used to be 50-50, user fee and general tax-based support. It's closer to 60% tax-based support and 40% the user fee right now. So it's, what's the balance between keeping rates low enough for people to engage in the programs and use the facility, but not burdening the general tax base. So it's something for council to consider. I think what's going to be happening in the next few months, either at the end of this council or the new one, is a user fee and charges bylaw that we'll put in place, and it'll become a political decision what and that included in that is what can people afford. So that's the balance. I'm all for active living, and I'll continue to walk back and forth and wait to hear
Lago.
Thanks, Steve. The rec center is going to be either a user pay or it's going to be a taxpayer expense. It's a public facility. They have a lot of things that they need to start fixing over at the rec center. Their costs of running is very high. Talks of a new facility to me equals more cost to the taxpayer. It'd be great to have that. We have to sort of realize we're a rural bush town, and what we all need to sit down and have a very long and hard discussion about what we need in this town. We have a bunch of new programming going on in town, a lot for the youth. Wings program, the Friendship Center has a bunch of bikes, the Wings has canoes, they got a computer program in there, they got stuff for people to play guitars and stuff like that, so there's a lot of things going on.
Okay, Recreation Center. I took some time out to meet with Rick, our rec manager, to ask him about the user fee increases, get an idea of what was going on. I found out that it's been 8 years since Fitness had any increases in their costs, and arena costs haven't been raised in 9 years, so this was one of the reasons. Also, the $2.20 an hour for the hydro, Mr. Leney, came from Rick when I was talking with him. So, and as well, when we look at the things that have been taken away, the volleyball, the baseball's also been handed back to the facilitators of these events, the coaches. One of the reasons is to have our rec department employees working more for the rec center than actually out in the community with these other events that they don't need to be tied up with. And this also, these increases on the user fees takes a little bit off our taxpayers as well. Thank you.
John Bell.
On my platform, I mentioned that the community growth and development was one of my planks, and the recreation plan, master recreation plan, was one of those. And I know that's happening. There's funding applied for we didn't get, but that's still on my radar to go ahead with that. But I think once we get something like that going, we'll look at these. It's a hard decision. Is it user pay or is it not user pay? And arena is never going to be full user pay. It's just impossible for in small towns. So it's not an easy question to answer, and I certainly don't have the answer at this time. I think when we get a recreation plan in place, we should be able to come up with something.
Darlene, Angeconeb.
Yeah, I don't have the answer either. But anyway, physical, spiritual, mental, emotional. Physical part of your being is a very important part. And I like the walking path, walking trail that we have here in Sioux Lookout. So I think we should look to more activities that are land-based, as I had mentioned, that we could use some traditional activities from First Nations. But yeah, we could put the programming into the youth programming, and I think it'll be coming eventually. So, but I like the other idea about looking at funding and looking at different strategies for physical well-being for residents of Sioux Lookout. Thank you.
Joyce Timpson.
I'm a total supporter of active living, and I would like to also make the point that someone else made it. Why are we focusing on active living inside the recreation center? And one year, I looked at my taxes, and apparently went towards the recreation center, and $8 went towards Cedar Bay. Okay, there's a real imbalance there. So let's look at balancing the municipality helping outdoor recreation, helping Friends of Cedar Bay, helping the bike club, helping the cooperative that runs the stable. Volunteers will do a tremendous amount. It is the eternal discussion, taxation versus user fees. But let's subsidize some people that don't have the money to do the indoor fight. There are programs out there. Let's do that.
Yolaine Kirlew.
These are great questions, and as a parent with 3 girls and 10 students from up north that live with me, this is a big, big issue. How do we engage, right? How do we make sure that there's access to activity? As said before, outdoors is affordable for everyone. So creating awareness about the value of being outside is really easy to do, but we need volunteers. We need more individuals who are doing this in extracurricular to encourage this amongst all age ranges. As well as continuing on the policy side to advocate for more funding for active living, recognizing that with active living we will bring down so many other issues such as high obesity among different age groups, and making sure that we recognize that health is something that's affordable. It's not something that has to have a high cost. It's the way we think and also how we want to work together, connecting with our collective groups, working with the Indigenous organizations and the non-Indigenous organizations to strengthen all of our health and our well-being language. Thank you.
Stephen Forbes.
So this is sort of one of those damn if you do, damn if you don't situations. The rec center is never going to be a non-subsidized tax-based entity. And I think some of the problem goes back to what Jason was saying. The new recreation director is trying to play a little bit of catch-up. And I think there wouldn't be as much griping probably about the increase in fees if there was a corresponding increase in the quality of the equipment and the quality of the facilities. So I'm not exactly sure what the right balance is, whether it should be 50% user fee, 50% tax subsidy. That way 100% of the people are upset with it. So that might be the way to go.
Ron Bird.
Active living. I'm a firm believer in youth programs. We certainly need volunteers, and we certainly need funding to get our kids off the streets, to get them off the electronics, and to get them into the recreation that depends on our lakes and forests, which we have in abundance. Our recreation center needs to be more balanced with youth and adult programs, and a more progressive fee structure, pay based on need and income. And the third thing that we need is more awareness of what is currently available with programs, both for youth as well as for adults. Thank you.
Joe Cassidy.
So everyone's thrown around a few numbers. So just right out of the 2018 budget, the rec center hits the taxpayers at nearly $900,000 for the entire budget. Both a little over $700,000 of that is the fitness center and the arena. So as what Steve was getting at with regards to where do we draw the line here, and I think that needs to be an open discussion with the public, is how much are you guys willing to pay, or how much do you want it to come off the taxes? There's got to be a balance. But the other part of that is I think we need to get into the budget and see where it is. Like $414,000 wage and benefits coming out of our rec center. That's or out of the fitness center. Sorry, that's that little room. I'd like to see more breakdown of where it's actually going, where the money's being spent, where the people are going, and how their time's being managed and what they're doing. My wife worked there
Our next question comes from Kathy Bowen. It's addressed to all the mayor candidates. In this case, I'll ask all the mayor candidates first by draw to respond. Anyone else who would like to may. Be sure I see your hand. There's no obligation to, except for the mayor candidates. Here's the question. Are you proud to walk down Front Street? And what will you do to make the downtown more appealing to visitors and businesses? Dennis Leney.
Well, I've never been not afraid to walk down Front Street. I would like to see, first off, that the streets are, especially the pavement, is more level. I've seen some of our seniors be tripping and falling on that. I think we have to make it safer for them. I would like to see more businesses, but I don't think that is really a reality right now. I do feel that the police are doing a good job. They're always on Front Street, and we know why they're on Front Street. Basically, I feel Sioux Lookout has a safe Front Street, and I haven't heard that too many complaints. I see mostly on the websites and that, but again, I don't feel it's unsafe, and I feel safe walking on Front Street. Thank you.
Jason Bailey.
I know a lot of people have had interesting experiences on Front Street. I have myself. And it is a big concern for our community. And I know our current council and mayor have been faced with these challenges, and they've been working hard with other local organizations and trying to find the right recipe for that. We got to engage our community to get their input on what they would like to see. We have to get active in lobbying with our provincial government and our federal government, explaining the special needs of our community, the special location of our community, and that funding is needed for us to move forward. We have to engage with new business, with tax incentives to attract them to move into our community. And we have to put back our businesses that we own on Front Street back to the private sector, which is the Centennial Center and the train station. They're up for sale. We got to get them moving. Thank you.
Good question. Am I proud to walk down front? I'm always proud to be from Sioux Lookout and be in Sioux Lookout. Do we have challenges? Yes, we do. We have terrific opportunities too. I think the downtown is far busier now than it was when I moved here 33 years ago. A single shoe store or a single clothing store had one or two customers, one or two staff. We now have hundreds of people. If you take a look at the park, we now working in office buildings that weren't there 33 years ago. There's literally hundreds of people. So downtown is busy. Could we do more? I'm not sure. Centennial Center and the train station were purchased and renovated two councils ago, I think. And they look good. They look great. I'm very proud. And the Centennial Center is fully leased out. Railway station is there. The museum is in it. There's one rental space. We have it, and we utilize it for meetings. I'm proud to be in Sioux Lookout. I'm proud to be part of making things better, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you.
Joyce Timpson.
I'm very proud of the Centennial Center and the Heritage train station, because those were projects that Council took on several years ago to rehabilitate two buildings that were basically falling apart. And I think we have a tremendous office building, and we have a tremendous, beautiful site where the old train station is. And I think that if I could wave my magic wand, I would like to see a major apartment complex along Front Street that had people living there. And I think if you had people living there, you would then find restaurants, coffee shops springing up, and the place would start to revive itself. That would be my vision for Front Street.
Yolaine Kirlew.
Joyce just took my thoughts, but I want to play it a little bit wider. We do not have that much foreign direct investment, and I think that's an area that we need to start looking at. There is a lot of money across the borders in other countries that want to invest in places like this that has so much potential.
The idea of seeing downtown Sioux Lookout as residents up top and underneath, not just restaurants and coffee shops, but also office spaces. When you go to other places that have been regentrified, like Kitchener-Waterloo, where I lived 25 years ago, and compare that to today, that's what it looks like. It's a hustle, it's a bustle, it's a busy place, but it's a livable place. It's a place where you live, it's a place where you work, and it's a place where you play. So if we can reimagine downtown like that, I think we can see something with our foreign direct investments as well.
Our next question comes from Nancy Roy. It's addressed to existing councillors, those who are rerunning for council. Why is the town of Sioux Lookout buying pigs for a pig roast from Dryden for staff appreciation, plus gas cards and barbecue for prizes? We'll leave it at that. So existing councillors, if you'd like to go first, if you'd like me to repeat that? Okay, here's the question from Nancy Roy to all existing councillors. Why is the town of Sioux Lookout buying pigs for a pig roast from Dryden for staff appreciation, plus gas cards and barbecues for prizes? And she relates that to taxes. Our taxpayers not paying enough in wages, and not to mention the closing of the town office. Who'd like to go first? The Mayor Doug. Joyce.
I'm not sure about the pig. I believe it was a pig roast for staff, and I assume it's being bought because we appreciate our staff. They work hard for us. They're wonderful people. The exact way that different organizations do staff appreciation varies from place to place. Somebody chose pig roast and has a nice flavor for this kind of meeting, pig roast. But there you have it. We appreciate your staff, and we show that appreciation. And I truly have learned to appreciate our municipal staff. I think they do a wonderful job. They're under public scrutiny more than anybody else who's doing their job. So thank you, staff, and I appreciate your work.
Yolaine Kirlew.
People have choices, and then so does a municipality. But it's very important to acknowledge that you are appreciative of the job that's being done. It's always a challenge to balance the needs versus the resources and the wants. But at the ending of the day, people still have choices, and we can't forget that.
Joyce Timpson.
I think there were a couple of issues in the question. Number one is, why were we buying it from Dryden? Interesting point. Possibly could have bought some sirloin steaks from local. I think that is a really good issue, and perhaps we have to be looking at a local sourcing policy, because this comes up. This has come up several times in the last few years. As far as staff appreciation goes, I think it's good. I think it's good to acknowledge staff, but I don't think you can just acknowledge them only by throwing an event for them. I think you acknowledge staff by treating them with respect, by not dismissing their ideas, by helping them to work together. I think that is also needs to be part of the equation about staff appreciation.
Stephen Floyd.
Yeah, so I think Joyce touched on it. I think the issue is not the fact that the staff were appreciating the pig roast. I think the issue was where the pig was purchased from. And I don't disagree. We should be sourcing locally if at all possible. But this is another one of those catch-22 situations. I don't disagree with Joyce that we should probably have a local procurement policy. But we would have to spell out in there whether or not, if we can get the barbecue or whatever we need to get from, say, Home Hardware, and it's not more than 20% of what we get somewhere else, maybe that would be the way to go. But if we don't do it that way, I suspect the reason it was bought in Dryden was because maybe it was cheaper to buy all that stuff in Dryden. So we've got taxpayer money being used to appreciate our staff, which is fine. But then we've also got some taxpayers that say their taxes are too high. So
I don't know why it was bought there, is the short answer.
But that's probably
Southall.
I was hoping John was going to go ahead of me too, because then I could just say, well, I agree with all things. Anyhow, I agree that we have some good staff, and I agree that it's important to recognize them and to give them something special once in a while. I also agree that whenever possible, we should try and shop locally. I was not aware of the purchase of a pig from Dryden, but anyhow, I think it's very important that we try to buy locally if we can, and I haven't got much more to say.
Cal kind of stole everything I was going to say, so I didn't know. I certainly want to agree with everybody who said we need to appreciate our staff every chance we get. We have great staff. They work hard. They're in a fishbowl all the time. Everybody's looking at them. Everybody's criticizing them. Very few people praise them. We need to be doing that. If we do that by buying a pig out of town, well, I'm really not sorry about that. If we had pigs here we could buy and cook, let's get them from here, but I don't think we do. So, thank you.
Does anyone else wish to respond? Wait. Corey, Lago.
Just so everyone's aware, pigs are available to be bought in Alcona. And I think what Nancy was getting at is our tax money should not be used to buy prizes. We should just appreciate our staff, our working staff. They do a great job, but we shouldn't be using money to buy gifts from them.
Leney.
Well, for the 39 years, 39 years that I've been a firefighter, I guess we're not staff anymore. Yeah.
Anybody else? And I hope the way I phrased and said that question didn't lead you to think that it was only a question of where the pig was bought. Okay, the next question is for first-time candidates, those running for the first time, both for mayor and for council. And this comes from Jay Dykes. While I may not always agree with the decisions council makes, I do recognize that being a member of council is a very time-consuming job, and I hope those that are running for the first time realize. So, for those vying for a council seat for the first time, how many council meetings have you attended over the past year? And just a quick comment on what you have learned by that. Would anybody like to start? For all, and I'm going to start at this end. Corey Lago.
About 4 years ago, Dennis Leney asked me if I was going to run, and I said, no, I'm not ready. And then in July, he said, are you going to run again? And I said, thinking about it. And he said, well, you have so many days to decide and put in your application. I would be honest, I never really looked at municipal politics. I've always thought I'd always wanted to run at some point. I barely get to meetings by the time I'm done work at 6 o'clock. I'm heading home to have supper every third Wednesday. I believe you guys meet. So if I do get elected, I can make time because I am the owner and I can make my own schedule. So thank you very much.
Joe Cassidy.
Thank you for the question, Jay. For me, raising a family right now, the time factor was a serious discussion with my wife. And actually, some time I went and chatted with city council members, just talking about the time commitment that it would take, what I'd be looking at, stuff like that. And I had the discussion with my wife and committed that building a better community for our daughter
Debbie Baker.
So I do work out in Lago right now, and so when I did decide to put my name in, I had to think long and hard about the commute that I have from work in here and could I juggle it, and I did speak with my employer about that as well, and they were very supportive of me going ahead with this. I do work 4 days a week instead of 5 in Lago, so that does give me a bit more time to participate, so I do definitely intend to be very involved going forward if I'm elected. In the past year, I've gone to 2 or 3 of the council meetings. I usually focus more on the ones that are regarding the budget. In the last 3 years, I believe I've averaged about 2 to 3 meetings out of the year.
Ron Bird.
Any commitment to public service does take a lot of time. And in looking at the application months before I filed, it did create a lot of thought. But I did believe that because, one, I'm retired, allows for more time. I was president of the Sturgeon River Cottage Association, which I have walked away from. I shouldn't say walked away from. I have turned that over to somebody else. So I do have the time, and I'm looking forward to spending time and being an asset to this community.
Dennis Leney.
Time. But during the last 10 years that I was on the council and was mayor, I will tell you, it is time consuming. And I have no reason at all why I didn't enjoy it. There was times that my wife said again, but she's realized that the municipality means an awful lot to her and means an awful lot to us. That's one of the reasons, and one of the big reasons I'm running again, because there's an awful lot of people in this community asked me to, just because of my past record. So I know it's time committing, and I've spent a lot of time on. I'll say one of the most things I enjoyed was visiting the 75-year-old and 85-year-old and 95-year-olds for the birthdays and for the anniversaries. That's a great part of it. Thank you.
Darlene Angeconeb.
I've been to probably a couple of town council meetings in the past year, but I've also been devoting my time to the Police Services Board, and we meet quarterly, and sometimes there may be an extra meeting here and there, so maybe 6 times with the Police Services Board. But I'm also on the appointed to the Mayor's Committee for Truth and Reconciliation, and we meet at least once a month, if not more. So I'm already devoted my time to these municipal committees and boards, and I am the acting director for Equewa Women's Group. So Yolaine Kirlew is also employed with Equewa Women's Group, and we do give her the time to be able to attend any council meetings, and I'm sure I could do the same for myself. Thank you.
Jason Bailey.
Does anybody take attendance at those meetings? I know if I'm looking just at the last year, I'm going to probably say I was maybe at 3 meetings. But in theory, I looked over every discussion that happened at every meeting and to see what was going on, reviewing our budgets as part of the coalition group, and looking at ways that we could solve some of the community issues moving forward. So, now, thank you. I'm not getting red plated this time.
Does anyone else wish to speak to that? Okay, the next question comes from the Chamber of Commerce. It's addressed to all candidates, all of you. How do you individually plan on working with the Chamber to promote economic development for businesses in Sioux Lookout? How do you plan to work with the Chamber to promote business? Joyce Timpson.
First of all, I'd have to be on the Chamber of Commerce board. And secondly, I would have to learn about what you've already done to promote and recruit business. And thirdly, I think I'd have to then be on the Economic Development Committee and promote attraction of business as a priority. I have to confess that I don't know much about that side of things, although it is something that it does interest me. I think we have to get out there. We have to go to, we have to reach beyond the borders of Sioux Lookout. Other than that, this is an area that is not my area of expertise, but I would certainly be willing to learn more about it and to participate in that, because I think it is very, very important. Thank you.
Yolaine Kirlew.
These are great questions. I think every single thing requires dialogue. The first step is a conversation. Finding out what your needs are, talking about the skill sets that I could bring to the conversation, and then seeing how best we can work collaboratively going forward. Economic development affects all of us, whether it's a small business, a mom and pop shop, or an industry. But there's different components to it that we can all be responsible for. So I think the first step for me is a conversation, and then from there, extrapolating how best we can work together.
Councilor.
Well, I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I have been on economic development for 8 years. I'm a very strong advocate for retail development. I've made many trips on my own dime to Thunder Bay. I've met with developers there. I've brought a couple of developers into Sioux Lookout to look at our community. I'm feeling quite positive that something is going to break for us soon, and there's some good things in the works, and that's about all I can say. I'm very proactive toward new retailing in Sioux Lookout, and I would like to see something like that happen.
Darlene and Angeconeb.
Yeah, I support economic development for Sioux Lookout, and the Chamber of Commerce, I know, is very community-minded, and they have come to support Orange Shirt Day, and they did the whole barbecue for everybody that walked that day last year. So I know they're very community-minded, and I would think that we could work with the Chamber of Commerce, and we could also bring businesses and have First Nation partnerships across the board. Thank you.
We need to have a smaller downtown strategic plan with an action plan attached to it, and that needs to be presented to the community of what we would like to see developed in our core. A downtown core is vital to our community. We need to work along with our local contractors and developers. We need to hear their ideas on some of the current buildings that the town owns on Front Street, whether they can be viable businesses for somebody else, and the contractors can go in there and develop them in that way. It seems that there's good things coming to Sioux Lookout. And we need to have more incentives for local entrepreneurs to build downtown. Thank you.
Bailey.
Economic development has been a struggle for Sioux Lookout. We've seen many businesses close. We've seen buildings falling apart in our downtown core. And Corey mentioned that we need to take a look at different ways of new creations. It was mentioned a few different times by a number of different people here that big box stores are really having an impact on the way that they do business through the internet. And a lot of people are just picking up their phones, getting online. So when it comes to economic development, I know myself, I've started 3 small businesses in Sioux Lookout. They're all operating right now. One of the biggest reasons why they're operating is because they get to go out of the community and service in different areas and bring back the money to here. So I think if we can get together the people that are members of our chamber and do some brain sourcing and take a look at options, we can find some solutions to this issue. English.
Ron Bird.
Taxes from the commercial sector in this community have been flat for the last 3 years. And to me, that's an indication that we are losing commerce from the downtown core. And it also tells me that our economic development that we have, they seem to be spending most of their time looking for the big deals, the mining, the paper opportunity that will solve all of our problems. But because of Dennis had talked about the gas not being available. We need to turn our economic development, spend the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we are spending with our local economic development, meld that with the Chamber of Commerce, and let's just look for other deals that the local entrepreneurs can bring to the table and help build and increase the vitality of our downtown core.
Dennis Leney.
Several years ago, I talked to a young fellow sitting back there, Remy Lordo, and he brought to me the attention that we should be looking at the tourists, and we have a prime chance to get that going. That's why I like to talk to the Chamber of Commerce. We have a train that comes through here every second day. There's Europeans on that train. If they were notified, like, let's get off the train, let's give them a bus ride, and we work this out with Lago, let's go see, give them a Birch Park ride canoe, give them, show them how to do banning, show them how to go fishing. People overseas want to see that. And all you have to do is read some of these are the tourist information things, and that's what they want. And boy, we should be doing for it. And as Corey said, there's lots of young people in this town that could set up a business in doing that right off the bat. That's what I would talk to the Chamber of Commerce about. Let's get Sioux Lookout going.
Stephen Forbes.
Dan, I can't expand on Dennis's answer at all. I think a conversation would have to be had, obviously, between the Chamber and the new council, see what the Chamber is wanting out of the new council. Much like Yolaine said, a conversation needs to happen before we can dictate to them what the best way to go increase economic development in the community would be. So I look forward to that conversation if you're elected. Thanks.
Doug Lawrence.
Thank you. The Chamber meets monthly, every month, and I attend their meetings every month to keep in touch with them and keep council and the municipality in touch. The issues that the Chamber have brought forward are they can't get enough workers. They're so successful, and there aren't enough workers. Housing for workers is another issue. So what have we done? The Economic Development Office has worked hard. The Housing Summit was held, and we put developers in charge with employers to try and find housing options. And I think, as Councillor Southall said, we're on the cusp of something's happening. Our Economic Development Office put the Wings Group in touch with the building owner downtown to establish the Wings Youth Center downtown. Our Economic Development Office has formed the First Nations Economic Development Hub in the Centennial Center. We worked with the Chamber to try and initiate a construction association. So we're busy doing those things. I think how do we do it? We keep in touch, listen, and try to address the problems. The problems are not always directly business. Sometimes the business are successful and they need workers.
Joe Cassidy.
I think the biggest thing right now is that we got a few new businesses trying to start off to look at the bar and trying to make a go of it on front think we need to engage these new businesses that are trying to start up, and we've got to figure out what the hurdles are for them. What's impeding their getting established here, setting them up, trying to work through some of those issues. Also, I think we need to set up with our economic development, set up some funding availability for new businesses that come, so we can say, here, this is some of the stuff available to you if you come and do business in our town. We need to develop areas that will allow us to bring new business in and make sure that they can set up shop here and promote development for industry. And touching on what Doug said too is we need the housing for people in those service industries, and that diversifying housing and not just fourplexes everywhere.
Debbie Baker.
One of the things that I would do to work with the Chamber of Commerce is with them revisit the economic development plan that was developed roughly, from what I can remember, between 2007 and roughly 2012. I believe that's something they've been working off of to some degree, but I've been doing a lot of reading lately. There is a ton of stuff on the Sioux Lookout website. And that document is a great document. What has surprised me is how little of it I've actually seen occur at this point. And that would be my question, because there's great ideas in it. So one, I would have a very hard look at that economic plan and talk to the Chamber of Commerce, because they're definitely a big part of that. Another item that I would look at and discuss with the Chamber of Commerce was actually an action plan that was developed for Hudson quite a few years ago. I believe it was also back in 2007. And as I was going through that document, that, again, it's a great action plan.
John Back.
I occasionally attend chamber meetings on behalf of PACE and behalf of Hub Transit, so I know what's going on with them. I think one of the biggest things we need to make sure we do is we need to make sure we don't put hurdles up that get in their way. We need to work with them, we need to cooperate with them, we need to find programs for economic development officers, but I don't think there's a lot in the town. Chamber is a separate entity. We have to make sure we don't try to mix them together with the town. The chamber does a fine job on their own, council does a job on their own, and I think we need to keep that separation, but we need to work with them.
Nathan S. has a question. It's directed to Dennis Leney. I'm going to expand it to the three mayor candidates to speak to first. And anyone else may speak to it after. Dennis, you'll go first, please. As a mayor, how would you help make Sioux Lookout more affordable to live in and entice newcomers from all over Ontario to move here to fill the enormous job vacancies?
Well, again, the housing is our biggest problem. And right now I'm on the utilization committee for the hospital. And we have a hard time getting people to come and even work at our hospital. Right now we employ approximately 500 people, and about half of these people probably live in Dryden. Right now our board is looking at developing on our property a sixplex that we will allow people, nurses, doctors, surgeons, whatever, and they come to town and take a look at our community so that we can give them an idea of what it's like to live in Sioux Lookout. They would be able to live in that accommodation, not rent-free, but for low rent, for a minimum of 3 months or until they find accommodation. If they decide they're going to build a house, we'd have to extend that a little bit more. That's one of the only ways that I think that we could be doing it to get people to come to our community, is having further development and more housing.
Doug Lawrance.
I hear the question, affordability is an issue for all of us. The municipality doesn't have direct control over the price of gas or the price of food or those kind of things. So what can we do? I think we've talked about the housing before, that I think by growing our community, we can try and spread the costs around by having a larger community, spread the costs over a greater tax base. By bringing more businesses in, maybe create more competition, have more choices. But again, the municipality doesn't have direct control over those factors of affordability. I hear you, and I think we're on a path. I think we're on the cusp of the municipality sort of bursting into a new stage of development, which I hope will bring some prices down, but I can't promise the price of gas. You have to ask your premier about that one. So, and the cost of beer. But the best you can.
Jason Bailey.
So as part of my research, when I was looking at running for mayor, I met with the human resource manager of our community down at the Employment Resource Center. And she explained to me the challenges of those jobs that are available in our community. She said there was 130 to 170 jobs available. They have been available for about 10 years. 95% of these jobs are in the social service worker sector. Now, she said the reason why these jobs aren't being filled is because nobody can afford the quality of life. That's the main thing right there, quality of life. If we can't provide anybody with a quality of life and a job wage trying to survive here, no one's going to come here. The reason why people are moving sideways in those jobs, not because they want to work for a different employer, but they're trying to come up, and they're not finding it survivable. There's not even funding available that can afford them to go to school, so the college can run the courses in that area. So we got to start there. If we can do that, then we're going to move forward.
Does anyone else like to speak to that? Corey? Corey Lago?
Thanks, sir. Just one thing. We also have to think about Hudson. It is quite a lot cheaper to live there, and taxes are cheaper in Hudson. It'd be good to look at developing some kind of new industry there as well, and getting more housing and people living there to bring that community back.
Next question comes from Alan Bizio. It's for everyone. 3 parts, all connected. What is the estimated value of Sioux Lookout? What is our debt? And what's the interest payable? It's addressed to everyone, so if for some reason you don't wish to speak to it, just say so. But otherwise, I'm going to throw it out to everyone. Doug Lawrence?
Could you reiterate the questions one more time?
Sure I can. It's 3 parts, all connected. What is the estimated value of Sioux Lookout?
I think the asset value, if I recall, and I know particularly the asset value, $65 million is what we need to do to repair. I would say our asset value, I think, is in the $150 million range, and I don't quote me on that, but it's in that kind of range.
Okay, and our debt and the annual interest.
Our debt repayments are $1.2 million a year. The principal part is $800,000, and the interest part is $400,000. In the province's financial information reporting system (FIR), we're allowed to have a debt repayment up to $5.5 million per year. We're at $1.2 million. Dryden is at, I think, 3 times our debt repayment. Red Lake is twice our debt repayment, and Kenora is in a wonderful position of being at 0 because of their sale to Kenora Tel some years ago. They got $40 million for that, and they're still able to live off of that. Is there another question?
No, that's it.
Thank you.
What I will do is try to call on the existing council, because they've been involved with this, and then the others may speak if they wish. But the existing council, Stephen Forbes.
Yeah, I don't know if I can expand on what Doug said. He answered the question, so I'm going to go sit down there.
Yolaine?
Great question. Asked and answered.
Joyce?
Pretty much the same. I think our debt is in the $17 million range. Interest payable, I don't have that number. Estimate value of Sioux Lookout, I also don't have that number, but I trust Mayor Lawrence. It's quite right on. He's very good with figures. Thank you.
John Bath.
Mayor Lawrence actually had most of the answers. I think the amortized value is $75 million. The debt payments are 1.237 something billion per year, and above that 800,000 is principal, 400,000 is interest. So I think they were pretty well right on that.
Cal? I agree with that. Cal Southall agrees. Anybody else? Oh, Ron Bird. Yes, Ron Bird would like to speak to it.
A couple things about estimated value. At the last financial meeting, we were told that the value of Sioux Lookout at net worth is minus $10 million. Last year it was minus 6. So we're going in the wrong direction for one reason. And so we should ask, what is net value, or what does it mean? It's a number, but you can all answer it yourself. But when you go to the bank and they ask you what your net value is, if it's positive, you get a good rate. If it's negative, you pay a higher rate if you get the loan at all. Secondly, with debt, your $18.4 million was 14 something last year. That's a $4 million increase. That is a two-edged sword. Right now, we're paying 830 some odd thousand in principal, 450,000.
Okay, time's up, Tom. Thank you. Corey Lago, then Jason Bailey.
I was going to answer Al's question this way. The value of Sioux Lookout, priceless and endless potential. Thank you.
Corey took my answer.
Okay, we have come to the last question of the evening, and following this question, we'll have the final wrap-ups from each candidate. This question is addressed to Ron Bird. So we'll give you the first crack at it, Ron, then anyone else who'd like to speak to it may. It comes from Gaetano Caspido. What plans or strategies do you believe need to be implemented to revitalize the downtown core and deal with the current state of vagrancy?
Well, that's two questions. Do I get 2 minutes? I've always been a believer in promoting local resources. Part of my platform has always been to look at the local entrepreneurs, help them with taxation lines, rebates, and whatever to get them started. That's the only way that we're going to get the downtown working. What was the second question?
How will you deal with the current state of vagrancy?
Vagrancy is a problem, and I don't think there's anyone here that will say that being harassed on the street is not a problem. It is. It doesn't happen all the time. Some of it's criminally intent, but most of it's all social. I think if we have the local cops walking the street, we can probably resolve some of that. But in terms of solving the problem, we're going to have to deal with the northern communities and see if we can come up with some sort of deal.
Anyone else want to speak to that? Well, that was a quick question. Let's see if we have a different one here that hasn't been asked. Okay. Keith S., why is there no line in the budget for legal expense that the town takes on? Why is there no conflict resolution between homeowners and council before the problem becomes a legal problem? Let me ask the second part of that. here it is to everyone. Why is there no conflict resolution between homeowners and council before the problem there becomes a legal problem? Cal Southall.
I don't know. There is supposed to be a process in place where you go to the front office of the municipality. If you have a concern, you can pick up a form, you fill it out, you bring it back, and it goes to the CAO, and it is supposed to be dealt with. Those are supposed to be reported back to council on how they were resolved. And after that, I don't know how they proceed to legal, but we get very few of them coming back to council that we are made aware of.
Doug Lawrence.
I wasn't quite sure of the question at first. I thought it was had to do with taxes, but you're referring to if it's a complaint protocol. There is a protocol that's in place. Somebody calls the municipal office, reception knows the protocol. They try to ascertain what the problem is, and they will direct the person to the manager in charge of one of the 10 departments involved. And they're also told, if you don't get satisfaction, let us know. And so then the next step would be to go direct to the person is directed to the CAO. And again, they're told, if you don't get satisfaction, let us know. The next step is go to the mayor. So those are the steps that are in place for the complaint protocol. After you asked about legal action, or I think that would be a personal decision if they want to take legal action. So those are in place, the complaint protocol, and there, as Councillor Southall said, it's all to be recorded, and it is. And there is a book, and eventually it should get to council. We have had very few complaints. Thank you.
Bruce and Bailey.
The reason why I'm running for mayor in this community is an extension of the people that asked me to step forward as part of the coalition 3.5 years ago. Now, the framework and the reason why that whole group was started was transparency and accountability. And if there's legal issues in our community that are occurring within our council, I think those dollar values should be shown so that we can better understand if there's conflicts in our community at the council level with our community members. When it comes to conflict resolution, I think one thing that we need to add in there is having a representative that is going to speak on behalf of community members directly with MPAC in challenging questionable increases or decreases to property. Thank you.
Joyce Timpson.
Yeah, the question is a little bit unclear. What kind of conflict are we talking about? And I think the mayor did outline the resolution process for a complaint. Like my sewer backed up or whatever. But there is a very clear process in place for tax arrears, other types of issues that I know that staff work very, very hard to meet with individuals to try to work out plans, for example, tax arrears, to payment plans and so on. And so I think like the process is in place for those kinds of issues. So basically, I think there's a lot more in place than we know about.
Anyone else? Yolaine Kirlew.
Thank you. I pretty much agree with what has been said before. And my additional point to that is that the fact that people are not aware of how the process is and the extent to which it goes is indicative of that we need to have more awareness. We need to talk about that process. We need to advertise it. We need to make sure that every community member knows of this process and sees how easily accessible it is to be able to engage. One of the things that have to be very clear is that council is related for strongly the defenders of the policy side in council, and administration is run by the CAO and managers, going all the way down to those who are staff. And so council does not get issues brought to them to work all the way through if it's an administrative issue. We just get an update on it once it's been resolved, once it's been addressed. And that, I think, is really, really important to understand, that there's a difference between policy, which council deals with directly, and administrative.
Joe Cassidy.
Just to touch on what Yolaine said there too, if there is a policy, I think that the town needs to do a better job to promote that and make people aware of it. The bottom line here, if there's conflict going on with the municipality, that's a lose-lose for a community. Your taxpayers, you're losing money paying a lawyer, we're losing money paying a lawyer. What are we getting out of it? We got to do a better job working together. And if there needs to be more transparency built into the process to mitigate this conflict. There should be no need for it. We got to work together in the community here.
Dennis Leney.
I don't want to comment on this very much, but when I was mayor, we had very, very few complaints. There's always a few about the taxes, and they were always handled by the administration, told what to do. One thing I'd like to see if we get elected is back when I was the first council, all councillors had a portfolio, whether it was recreation, airport, public works, whatever. I would like to go back to that, and I think by that way, the public themselves have a sounding post right off the bat. They can go and see whoever it is and talk to them about that particular complaint, whether it's the garbage dump, whether it's snow removal, or whatever. I think that way would make things an awful lot more transparent.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for the recaps, the final words from all of the candidates. I think I'll save the three mayor candidates until last.
I will close off by answering a question I think Dick might have missed me on, but with regard to keeping people in our community, we have a very transient town, and in order to keep people here, we need to develop our facilities. We need to do more to promote family living. There needs to be a bigger drive as a community to encourage people to want to stay here. That's what happened to me. Was I moved up to Sioux Lookout to be a barrel technician here, and I fell in love with the community, and it's the place I chose to raise my family. I see the potential in Sioux Lookout, and I just want to help us reach that potential. And I look forward with anyone's comments or have some discussion aside and get your input. I really want to work with the community here to make this
Lago.
Thanks for hosting, Dick. I bring a distinctive 49-year Sioux Lookout perspective to the council table if elected. I'm a trusted, honest, and respected community member. I'm also a trusted, honest, and respected business owner in the community. I'm kind and I'm a compassionate person. I extend my respect to everyone that I meet, whether that is reciprocated or not. I'm a leader in our community, and I spend hundreds of hours volunteering my time. I'm an organizer from all those events we run with our club. And I can work with many different people with many different personalities. I am capable, and I have the time and energy to put into being one of your representatives. My ideals are not set in stone. I'm willing to sit down and have the conversations that need to take place. And finally, I believe communication is key, and I'm not shy in having the tough conversations, but in a very respectful manner. Thank you very much.
Debbie Baker.
Thank you all for coming out tonight and having a listen to us. I hope it helped you greatly in making your decisions on who you want to vote for. The strengths that I bring to council if I were elected are, one, my federal background being a public servant. So understanding bureaucracy and elected government, they're two different entities, and it really helps to understand them in order to have them work better The other one is being in nursing. I tend to be very people-focused, and you can ask my husband, I can talk an awful lot. So I am definitely open to talking to the community, hearing what they have to say, and then using that to bring it back to council so that we can develop a plan that works for everybody. I want to finish on the question where I got cut off because I was talking a little too long last time, but the Hudson Action Plan, if you guys have a chance, go read it. There's some amazing documents that we actually have on our website about economic development, have great ideas. And again, let's not reinvent the wheel. If there are great ideas in there and they haven't been actioned, maybe those are some of the things we need to look at because those were put together by the community many years ago. And just to see if they're current. So in a nutshell, that's what I bring. I'm planning on being here for quite a while at this point. And I do look forward to serving the public if you guys decide to vote for me. Thank you.
John Babb.
Well, tonight again, it's an interesting and enlightening experience to listen to the views of candidates and expectations of community members through the questions. So if you choose to re-elect me, I will remain committed to keeping tax rates as low as possible. I will remain committed to building reserves and reserve funds. And I don't like them to be called stuffing money into our coffers. These are reserves that are important for our future. I'm committed to remain committed to preserving and advancing the positive relationships that this and past councils have developed with our First Nations neighbours and senior government agencies. Some candidates will campaign for a more demographically balanced council, and I don't disagree, it'd be great. But as I think somebody mentioned earlier, it's a lot of work, and you have to be sure you can handle it, because you can miss a lot of time from your family, a lot of time from your work, and this takes a lot of time. And finally, just remember the message on the bus. Building a better community. Sioux Lookout, Public and North. Keep that in your mind, and we'll have positive growth. Thank you.
Stephen Forbes.
So I'm going to go back to the beginning and expound on my come to Jesus moment. Unfortunately, the reason, and it's a great thing, but the reason there's so many candidates on here is because everybody understands where we are with taxes. We're at a tipping point. We can't do as a municipality what we're being asked to do based on property taxes alone. We're not the only municipality in this position. Municipalities across the country, this is an antiquated system we're working under. The two other levels of government know this, but they don't address it. They won't address it. We need a point or two of an HST to help us out. We're never going to get caught up on our infrastructure problems. We're never going to get a new arena, a new fitness center, a new walking trail, any of that stuff based on property taxes. And unfortunately, whoever gets elected is just going to have to be tinkering around the edges a little bit because you can't reconcile having all your property tax money that comes in go out the door of municipal salaries. It just doesn't work. We can't be going to other levels of government, hat in hand, year after year, hoping that we've written the grant properly, hoping that we've got the right representation in federal or provincial politics. It doesn't work. So if whoever is on the FCM board from us next year, we need to start lobbying hard to get this system fixed. Thanks.
Darlene Angeconeb.
Wow, thank you for staying. I'm really honored to be here, and I hope I can do a good job if I get elected. I bring my indigeneity to the table, and as you know, this town represents at least half, maybe more, of First Nations people. And I don't see that number of people in this room. So there are a lot of issues I know that have also been talked about this evening, including the homelessness and the vagrancy, or whatever you want to call it. I would hope that we could look at other solutions from other municipalities, such as Medicine Hat. They have eliminated homelessness. Red Deer, Alberta. Maybe because they have yams, I don't know. Anyway, I like to joke around here. Okay, so anyway, as a First Nations person, I would hope after all these years and after everything I've been through that I can come, be elected, and contribute whatever I know to this town. And to be inclusive of everybody and the diversity, and to work together so that we can all benefit. Miigwech.
Thank you. I would just like to possibly reiterate a few of the things that I bring to council. I have initiative. I have initiated numerous new projects and programs. I've brought many reports to council on new initiatives in the last 12 years. I am persistent. I don't give up. I ask a lot of questions, much to the chagrin of many people, but I will continue to do that. I have sat on 14 different boards and committees in 12 years. I sit on 7 right now, and I am energetic. I work very hard. I have spent many a midnight writing proposals for Trillium, for the pavilion at the Cedar Bay, for the poverty reduction strategy. I love my work. I have 40 years of frontline experience in social services, and I feel that is my biggest strength to offer to council, is my experience in the North and in Sioux Lookout in developing programs. And so thank you, and I hope to be able to serve another term. Thank you.
Southall.
I'll be short. It's been a long night. Thank you all for coming out, and I hope you've had an informative evening. In closing, I would just like to say I've thoroughly enjoyed representing you for the last 8 years, and I hope I can continue. I commit to you that I will continue to work very hard for you and making our community a better place. If you have any questions or anything you want to discuss about tonight or anything else, please give me a call. Come and talk to me. Thank you very much.
Yolaine Kirlew.
Much like a fellow candidate, it's been a pleasure to be here tonight, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to come and ask these questions. And I do hope to see more of these questions, given the opportunity to represent you again. 12 years ago, my husband, Dr. Kirlew, and I left the city. We chose to come to Northwestern Ontario because we saw Northwestern Ontario as a place that we could bring our skill sets and come alongside the community and learn and share and grow together. We have 3 daughters, 10, 10, and 4, and we said if we wanted to see the world be a better place, we have to be willing to commit our time, our talent, our energies, our efforts, and bring them to every single table we sit at and share and listen and learn. Why did we do that? Because we saw the potential in Sioux Lookout. We decided to invest ourselves in our community. Whether it's our ability to speak, our ability to advocate, our ability to learn, our ability to grow, we made that distinct choice. And today, you are faced with another distinct choice, to decide who you will choose to continue to represent you 4 more years. It's my request to ask for this privilege to continue to do so. Whether I'm at a federal table, a provincial table, a regional table, or sitting alongside or with you, I will always bring focus, I will always bring compassion, I will always bring a listening ear, and I will always bring the desire to work with every and anyone who wants to see our community thrive. You don't have to have millions of dollars to live in a beautiful place like this. You can have what you have now and bring a desire to share, to listen, to learn, and with that we work to enrich each other. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I look forward to seeing you all on October 22nd. VoteYolaineKirlew.com. You can find more information about me. Thank you. Merci and miigwech.
Ron Bird.
First of all, I'd like to thank Dick and Ann and the others, and also the candidates for coming here tonight. I think it's been worthwhile for everyone. I know that we spent a lot of time here tonight talking about the challenges that this town is faced with. But I want to end my portion on a very upbeat note. Sioux Lookout to me is a very vibrant and strong, our strength coming from the town's remoteness and the hardy people who live and work during the long winters. It's a community of folks who like to fish and hunt and build things, or just as easily walk a game trail as walk a golf course. Still others who enjoy the exuberance of ripping across a frozen lake. Others that more traditional like to cross-country ski. And of course others who derive happiness from libraries and social gatherings. All these activities and many more are available within our community. Sioux Lookout is a great place to live. I need your vote to accommodate the need for change and to strengthen our council and to enable the preservation of our town's character and its assets, but also to build a community environment that serves the young as well as the old. So thank you.
The candidates for mayor, Dennis Leney.
Start off first. Anyways, I would just like to reflect on my council years in 2010, 2014. And I don't like to say the word what I did. I didn't do a darn thing. I had a team. And our team did a lot of things in that 2000 to 14 years. We ended up getting an expansion to the airport. We worked really hard on long-term care beds. We ended up getting the roads rebuilt from King Street down to First Avenue. Unfortunately, all these end up being in the next portion, but we did the applications for them. Joyce, she worked really hard. We have LED lighting, mostly throughout the whole municipality, Sioux Lookout plus the arena. John Bass project, he worked on the road to Cedar Bay, so that we could use it more time for the kids. So we now have service, we can get fire trucks to there, and we can get ambulances to there. I think you all know me, what I've done in the past. I'm a 39-year member of the Sioux Lookout Fire Department. Been on the ambulance, I've been in every other committee, hospital board, I'm on the hospital now board, I'm on the Alzheimer's committee, so I do give back my time to the community. All I would like to say, closing off, is that right now as we have an NDP as our MVP, and I know that Greg Rickford being a very personal friend of mine, and with Cliff Bill being there, we have an input in the conservative government, which we need and which we don't have because we do not have an NDP that's conservative. Thank you.
Dr. Lawrence.
Thank you. I'll just start with by saying, Debbie, yes, there are many interesting documents on our website. And in fact, there's action being taken on many of them. It's just that at the government level, sometimes action is slower than we'd like. Just as we live with the decisions of previous councils, future councils will have to live with our decisions. But we stand on the shoulders of previous councils too, and that's how we move forward. It was Mayor Kathy Polling's term that the Sioux Lookout Hudson downtown revitalization was started. Projects started under Mayor Leney's term and are continuing now and will continue in future terms. It takes time. Things move forward, unfortunately, at a slower pace than we would like. But elections are about choices. We sit before you, 13 candidates for mayor and council. Diverse in experience, gender, culture, capacity, vision. Our community is fortunate, I think, to have so many candidates, and it is our privilege to run. It is your privilege to choose. We can prepare for those choices by asking ourselves some questions. What is my vision for the community? Whose vision is close to mine? the candidate broad thinking or focused on a special issue? Will the candidate be able to dedicate the time required to council? As mayor, my community leadership has always included commitment, experience, integrity, and first and foremost, community mindedness. I'm seeking your choice to be mayor. Once elected, I look forward to working with all of council for the social and economic benefit of the entire community. Thank you very much.
Jason Bailey.
What Doug said. No, I'm just joking. I do have to pee though. It has been a long night, so I'll make this short. I just want to say, you know what? Can we have a round of applause for everybody that's up here, please? Now, I know for a fact that every single person sitting up here has done great things for this community in one shape or another, and that's very honorable. Now, when it comes to me running for mayor, like I said before when I opened up, I talked about two words, response and ability. I had to look at my entire life, the challenges I faced, the challenges I've been through. I worked in the aircraft industry down in MacTier. There wasn't enough money for my family to survive. I had to leave that industry. I worked in the pulp mill industry and the sawmill industry. That industry collapsed. I had to reinvent myself again. So each time I went through these cave-ins, I had to learn ways to survive. Believe it or not, when I came to Sioux Lookout, I flourished. This town has something. There's something here that's really good. I've got a hold of that. I'm making it work for me. I've created these 3 small businesses. I work here full-time. My wife works here full-time. And I know I can bring the solutions that I've found in my life to the council level for mayorship. Yeah, I've never been on council before and I've never been a mayor before. But from my life experience, I've learned to survive in every challenge that faced me. I found the answers, and I'm willing to put that forward for this community. Thank you, Miigwech.
Mr. Anyone. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great cast we have up here. There's one person who doesn't want to come up here, but I make it difficult for her not to. Ann Saltel. Come up here, Ann. Ann is taking. You'll remember just a few months ago, it says, at the last minute, she took under her command setting up a community forum. She did it in 6 days or something like that. Anyway, she had a little more time this year, but I'd like to introduce those who don't know Ann, and those who do, I'd like to reintroduce you to Ann Saltel, and wish you give Ann a moment to speak, and then a great hand for all our councilors and mayors up here. Ann Saltel.
Thank you very much. First of all, yes, I do bite the bullet and start these things, but I wouldn't be able to do it without all the people that helped me do this. So first of all the candidates that agreed to come and rush in from wherever to be here tonight, I really appreciate it. Dick McKenzie,